Hi, my name is Japansese. I'm a creative based in Zimbabwe. And this is my very first episode of The Call-In. This is a show where we're going to be interviewing a bunch of artists and celebrities in Zimbabwe and try and get an insight of how the industry works for them. We're doing this episode and the show because of the unique circumstance that we're in as a world. And we figured the best way to get information and to educate some people at home right now who don't have much to do is just to Skype and call people from their homes. For our very first interview, we've got Nombi. Nombi is the founder of Nombi Styleth. She's a creative director based here in Zimbabwe. And I'm so excited to have you as my first call-in. How's the isolation and the quarantine going?
Hey yo guys, it's like a movie, but let's do what we need to do to stay safe and just this thing needs to stop and finish, so yeah.
And get back to regular business as usual.
Yeah, because both our jobs, we have to be amongst people, so this is so not cool. But thank you for asking me to do this, because it's just the work and the mind just stay creative, so yeah.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about you, because I know you personally, right? We've actually worked together before. But for the general people who don't know you, tell us a little bit about you.
So, Zimbabwean born. I was, like I said, born and raised here. I left them for uni and ended up staying abroad for about 8 years after study. 5 to 8 years after study. I came to Zim on holiday in 2014 and I just literally couldn't get back on the plane. I was like, this is not, it just doesn't make sense. It felt so good to be home and to be amongst my people. And I just kind of been working in the NGO sector, which is what I studied to do. I went to law school, then did a master's in development. And I just found myself back here in Zim. I ended up around 2017 just having a really deep conversation with myself and going, I'm not fully happy. I was working in property, helping my family, but every single day just feeling dissatisfied, feeling fulfilled in a sense because I was helping. But what was Nombi about? And so towards the end of 2017, I spoke to my fiance and I just said to him, how do you do it? How do you make a living from music and actually you're born to do this and you're not afraid and you just go for it. And so end of 2017, I did my first shoot with Mush Visual and Silent More, and that was fun. That was just absolute fluke. But it was beginning of 2018 that I said I've never felt that excited and joyful and purposeful. And I set out to launch Nombi Styleth, which fashion has always been in my blood, but the journey towards the business being formed was very personal. It was about personal fulfillment. So
you've been a stylist pretty much since 2017, right? And your latest
since end of year 2017. And I forget actually the other motivating factor was Chingeto producing a song with Mbox, and I was brought on to Style as part of the package and the arrangement they had together, and that was also 2017. So yeah, I started then.
And your latest project right now is the new song by Enzo. So tell me a bit about that, and what other epic projects have you worked on besides Enzo's?
So what I was saying was I kind of feel like the last 2 years since I formally launched Nombi Styleth have kind of been culminating to this project, and it was the longest, toughest experience thus far. It was the most fun I've had, and it was the most it was just a wonderful experience. The most important thing being my love for editorial kind of styling aesthetics, and I was able to bring them to the set of a Zimbabwean dancehall song. So that was, I'd probably say, the biggest high. Leading up to Enzo, I keep saying this, like people would inbox me, people like Ray Diz, who saw just snippets of what I was capable of doing. I hadn't really launched into kind of full-scale installation and set building, but he knew that I could bring about the vision that he had, and he just gave me room. So people like Ray Diz brought me in on a number of projects. I learned, I made mistakes, I perfected some stuff. I've worked with Tash. She's a young, brilliant up-and-coming MC. She's got a great song out at the moment, which I really love. I've worked with Tammy. I've styled Tammy. That was probably 2017 as well. So I forget 2017 was actually quite fun. Quite a few people. And what I'd say is Enzo's shoot was a culmination of a journey of absolute learning. And of course we continue to learn, but it was brilliant. I got the call. Can I send a song through? The artist will be revealed essentially when the song comes through. And I received the song and I'm like, this is Enzo Ishall. And then I received the director's brief, and at the top of it was Mwenje by Enzo Ishall. So it was literally the biggest shock and surprise of my life that, someone from this particular style of music would look at my work, and perhaps he didn't have a choice in who came in and art directed, but the director saw what I could do and knew that I could contribute to bringing Enzo's vision to life. So, and I, honestly, it's every single project that I've done that has led me to today, and I'm just so grateful.
For the viewers who don't know, right, what does an art director actually do? What does a stylist actually do on set?
So, creative director, art director actually takes care of the design aesthetic for the director. The producer gives the director an idea, the director puts together a brief, and that brief for all the kind of visual elements that bring to life a story, that director needs an art director. So an art director will take care of illuminating and backing up a story, making it believable. So it's my duty to source from wherever I need to source every tiny bit of equipment that can tell that particular story. So particularly in Enzo Ishall's shoot, the director was Mr. Alders. He gave me a brief of a Japanese healing room. He had no idea how I was going to bring that to life, and neither did I at the point that the brief was given, but I knew that I would have to begin at that point to source everything that would relate to either the sense of health or healing Japan. And how do I let that and make that sit in an African context? Because, this is still a Zimbabwean artist. We are still in Zimbabwe. It's still a largely Zimbabwean story that's being told here. So that is the challenge of an art director, to bring to life what people need to be able to imagine. So under my skills as an art director, I also style people. Sometimes I'm brought onto a shoot only to put clothes on people. And again, it's all based on a brief. How do you want the people to look? How do you want them to move? And I love this bit. I love the styling bit because I get to come across different people, different bodies, different insecurities. I get to heighten people's beauty, and most importantly, to let people see their beauty. That's what I actually love about the fashion styling thing, element of my job. And then, of course, you've got the set building. That is also another element. People will just bring me in to help build the set. So under art direction, I would say that fashion styling, set building, all of that fits beautifully under that. And I was just so so enthused when I got on set to discover that the LVK consultants were doing the fashion, because it just becomes like a really, really exciting push of creatives just to bring about this vision.
So, speaking of the project that you did with Enzo, what was your process in creating the set? Can we break down like how you actually did it?
Yeah, so I have a system that I use, and actually I've used it ever since I've been dabbling in fashion and anything creative. Actually, I have to see it in my mind for me to then be able to bring together everything that brings a set to life. And so at the stage that you'll see I do my sketching, I've already received a brief. So Enzo Ishall's brief came 3 weeks to a month before the shoot. I was able to accost them and then give them a very basic brief of what I could do for them. When they approve of your costing and they like the ideas that you have, that's when the real work actually starts. And I have to do, particularly for the shoot, the main elements and concepts where they wanted light, they wanted something that constantly added as a reminder for light. So I knew straight away, they actually asked for sticks, fire sticks and drums. So that was very simple for me. What became tricky was the Japanese element of their brief. And what the director was very clear about is when we look at the space, it must look Japanese. And they actually hired an actor, I forget her actual name, but I Am King, she's a DJ, she's actually of Japanese descent. So they were wanting a very realistic picture. So that obviously, I'll focus on that Japanese set because that led me down an intensive research period. I had to look at healing spaces in Japan, ryokans, which are kind of like B&Bs in Japan, like you get beautiful living spaces if you go on holiday there. It's a ryokan, but everything in there is Japanese inspired, from the furniture to the flooring to the artwork, and in every ryokan there's a little shrine. The other elements I looked at were the key colors in Japan to form my color palette for that set. So you look at your reds, your whites, your greens. You think of national animals. You've got your peacocks. You've got your lanterns. They're incredibly obsessed with lights. They have light festivals, and so all those things kind of informed some of the props that I knew I had to bring in. The other challenge was, this is not a house, this is a healing room. How do we bring together those elements? So in doing your research, you understand, Japanese are what you call naturopaths. They love their natural medicines. They love their kind of dimmed, low lighting spaces, which just bring a lot of calm. They love their shrines, which is what I picked up in most of the images. When you look at their temples, the shrines are central to who they are. So I knew I had to create a shrine. I needed incense. Then for Enzo's bed, Japanese style bedding, it's on the floor, and they have the special circular or long, I forget what that shape is called, a certain style of pillow. So we had that made for him, just so we could bring about the believability element. So this is a video that's obviously shot in Zimbabwe. This is for a Zimbabwean audience. And I chose to bring in Zimbabwe using our rukukwe. We used those on the floor, and then we just imitated the dojo-style carpeting using tape that would form the separate flooring mats. So even though it was a Japanese set, you still managed to throw in one or two Zimbabwean elements of the rukukwe and so on, right? Exactly. All right, cool. It was absolutely essential that we did so. And as someone who has broken into this industry in the last 2 years, and as someone who was abroad, I feel like sometimes when you come back, there's almost a fascination with your own. an appreciation of your own, a journey towards finding out what's your own. So in every single project I do, I try and make sure that if someone takes a glass, it would feel familiar. And so we did that with the bowl, the medicine bowl that Iron King uses to... it's King Her, actually. It's not Iron King, it's King Her. The bowl she uses to mix the medicine. Those are all traditional Zimbabwean bowls. We've got our wooden artifacts where you can squash garlic and chili and onion, very Zimbabwean. We brought those into the set. And we just went on a journey to bring the two worlds together. I mean, in terms of that process, that's what I can say. A lot of research goes in. You have your key concepts, you have your color thread, and I'm sure you've got the sketch. I've sent you the sketch.
I can see it.
Okay. And so you'll see on that sketch, this is how I tend to do it. I just place ideas that are swimming around in my head. The set may not end up looking exactly like that, but I have a rough idea before I even begin to build where stuff is going to go. And with that preparation, it then just like allows the creative gods to bring to life the story that I'm trying to tell. It also comes with literally listening to the artist's song. I listened to Enzo's song probably over 1,000 times.
So it kind of like, it rings in your ear for a while.
It rings in your ear. And even when I met him on set, it was so hilarious. I actually started singing to him. The most awkward of behaviors when you're starstruck, I guess. But I started singing to him. I knew the words, even though they were jumbled. But it was just, it's in my system. By the time I meet you, by the time I get on set with you, I would have lived the song.
That's awesome.
So yeah, it's all really exciting. It's a bit of an effort, but once I've actually started drawing, then I know I'm ready to go.
Awesome. So question, like, what are the challenges that you face as a creative director in Zimbabwe?
What I would say is, if I was in London right now doing and building for some of the shoots and videos that perhaps I've had to build here in Zimbabwe, sourcing my props, any kind of prop from 1980, from the 1930s, Afrofusion, I would be able to find, whether it's on eBay or local charity shops or antique stores. That's my biggest challenge here, but it's been great because I've had to use platforms that other Zimbabweans who have no option to say, if I was in London, what would I do? I'm about Zimbabwe. I'm about making a statement that from within we can build. So you've got platforms like Zimbabwean, where my prop stash is actually built up because people have stuff that they have no need for in their homes, in their backyards, in their garages, that they deem completely useless, and they allow me to come and pick up. I've had people on Zimbabwean loan me equipment, stuff that was on Enzo Ishall set. Some of it I pulled from Zimbabweans that are just on Enterprise Road that happen to have beautiful pieces that they're not using and that were happy to loan me for the set. The other beautiful thing that's come from the challenges is that I have an incredible father and son team. You didn't actually meet them, Tinashe, because I came on set on my own that day. Mm-hmm. But every single job that I've been on thus far, they've started with me. I've trained them to my standard. They thought I was very weird at first when I'd make them do certain things. But 2 years on, I can give them a brief, walk away from the set for 24 hours, and I come back and they are perfecting their craft. So we've had to learn how to do a lot of things by hand. You'll see in Enzo's video, we've got lighting that's literally falling from the ceiling. That's an idea that we came up with, reconstructed glass jars that hung from the ceiling. I told them I needed marukukwe on the walls. I have no idea how they did it, but they made it happen.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm also really blessed in that sense that there are a lot of difficulties and there are a lot of things that kind of, shoot day, particularly for Enzo Ishall's shoot. My transport couldn't find diesel. And what can you do? You have to wait until the diesel comes. And we got to the set, but everything was a rush because of an element that was out of our control. So they're just those little things. The flow of money in Zimbabwe could be seen as a hurdle, but what I found in the work that I'm doing is that the harder I work, the more I put out projects, people will pay you and appreciate it as well. So it's a challenge trying to get people to understand why you are needed on a set, what you bring, and how the outcome will be made different if you bring us on board and if you bring myself on board. But it's a journey. People are shifting, they're changing, the arts are growing in Zimbabwe. And it just helps how I sit and how I work as well. But what do you do? What do you do? Some people are living in Syria right now. If I look at the country, if I look at how it's happening and how things are flowing, you don't get anything done.
Thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you so much for your insight. It's been awesome. So where can people find you online?
Online at the moment, people can find me on my Instagram page at nombi.styleth, TH at the end.
Link right here below.
Yeah, it'll be right there.
Yeah.
And my hashtag is Nombi Styleth. And you can see all my work and projects that I've been involved in kind of collated under that hashtag. And you can email me as well. You can find the link to my address on my Instagram page. It's nombistyleth@gmail.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
It's been a blast. It's been educational. And looking forward to seeing you on set on the next shoot, eh?
I'm looking forward to being back out there, actually.
Awesome.
But, let's use this time to grow. I'm going to use this time to grow and just get better and study. The goal is to get Zim on the map, you guys.
Let's put Zim on the map. Nice words to close with.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll be seeing you.
Thank you so much, Ashe.
All right. Thank you for watching this episode of The Call-In. Hit the like and subscribe button, and please drop a comment down below. I would love to get some of your feedback about what you think about the show, as well as who you think that we should interview next. A really special shout out to Nombi the Stylist, and all the links and descriptions will be down below.